Good afternoon, Kevin. Would you kind of introduce yourself to everybody that's watching and then lead us up into how you joined the military?
Well, good afternoon. My Army story started in 1996. I graduated from San Bernardino High School. I was born and raised in San Bernardino. I had never thought that I would join the military at all. My father was in the Army. My grandfather was in the Army. My brother was currently serving in the Navy when I graduated, and I just didn't think military service was something for me. I had gotten accepted into college, and then I ended up moving to San Diego with my brother. And he was stationed on the USS Kitty Hawk, I remember that, and partying a lot. And I got down there and I started partying a lot. But growing up, I grew up in a really strict household, and it didn't feel, what I was accustomed to. My brother was gonna do a Westpac tour, and just the thought of being by myself, it scared me, especially with the crazy shenanigans of the partying that they were doing down in San Diego. I'm like, you know what, I gotta go home. Yeah. So I ran back home, and my mom and dad were like, well, come back home, you gotta figure out life. And my dad's constantly telling me about the recruiters calling. I had taken the ASVAB, and I did pretty well on the ASVAB, but I had just taken the test just to get out of class, right? I ended up moving with my grandparents because my dad was doing so much pressure. And I'm just like, you know what, I just let me be me, right? Yeah. So I wanted to be a free spirit. I started delivering pizzas. I was going to Job Corps, and that was too easy. I graduated Job Corps pretty quickly, and again, my dad's going to my grandma's house every day to visit, and he's like, hey, the recruiters are calling, and one day he comes to me and he tells me, hey, your grandma and grandpa think that you're a burden. So you're just delivering pizzas, and you're not really doing anything with your life, and they, it's costing them money, and they feel like it's a burden. 14 days later, I was in the United States Army. Yeah. So my dad hit me with the pride. I had gone to the Navy office, Marine Corps, and the Army is where I felt most comfortable. Mm-hmm.
You mentioned something about going to college. Tell us a little bit about that. When you decided to go to college, what you were studying, where you went, and how that was for you.
So I went to community college down in San Diego. It was horrible. So I'd gotten pretty good grades in high school, but every night I'm partying with my brother. They're having, party after party in his beautiful apartment on the beach. And people literally just were there every day. So my academics suffered, and I'd never, been in an environment where I just couldn't study. And that was part of my reasons for wanting to leave. I knew I couldn't be a success academically, if I were to continue that. So my short-lived college experience, one of my professors told me, you should probably drop before you get an F. Uh-huh. So I dropped all my courses, and that's about the time where I decided, maybe I should go back home with mom and dad.
What was your major?
I was undeclared.
Okay. Yes. And what was your, maybe you had said this earlier, what was your job in the Army?
So after that long list, I actually chose food inspection.
Okay.
It was a 2-year contract. I figured, hey, get my dad off my back, serve 2 years, and get out and easy. 2 years is less than what I did in high school, so right. I chose food inspection specialist.
That's awesome. I did that work myself.
Really?
In the Navy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a corpsman. Yes. You get lucky enough to do that.
Right. Well, I've worked with some corpsmen.
All right. That's interesting. So now we want to know a little bit about your childhood. Okay. Tell us, so you grew up in San Bernardino. What was it like for little Kevin?
It was a challenge. San Bernardino was a violent place in a lot of aspects, growing up. But it was a good childhood, We went out and played hard, I played sports. I played football. I played baseball when I was younger. And just growing up, I had a really good, diverse set of friends. And we really just hung out So sun came up till sun came down. It was a great time.
So, as a child, it sounds like you liked school quite a bit, had your friends. Is that any indication of why you went into teaching? Tell us a little bit about why you went into teaching.
Wow. So teaching actually came upon me while I was recruiting.
Okay.
I realized my favorite part of being a recruiter was just informing young people about the opportunities that the Army could provide for them, and I loved it. I'd do workshops and presentations. I'd get up in front of a class and see their faces, like go from this clear or muddled, vision of what military service looks like, and I just wipe away the clouds, and they're like, you can do that, we can do that. And it was great. When I had the opportunity to teach, the same guy who was my MEPS guidance counselor was running the program at local high school, La Sierra High School. And I believe at that point it had been 21 or 22 years later, here we are reconnected. And he's like, you know what, I'm gonna retire here soon. I want you to take over this program. And that's exactly what happened. He retired same year that I retired from the Army, and that's when I started my teaching career.
So you were with a bunch of cadets,
Yes.
is that right?
Yes.
So I want to know a lot more about how you got that gig.
Yes. So Sergeant Lake was his name. He was my MEPS guidance counselor in 1996. And like I said, flash forward 22 years later, I'm recruiting his students. And one of them says the name, and I'm like, that sounds so familiar. So I go back home and I look at my original contract, and it says Herbert Lake. And I'm like, really, is this the same guy? And he looked familiar, just the hair's a little more white and gray, and it was the same guy. I showed him my contract, and he's like, wow, I don't remember you, but I do remember somebody picking this job, and I never had somebody pick that job. And he's like, I think you made me late for lunch as well. So I couldn't figure it out, and he told me, hey, what the numbers on the side of the contract, it's 4, 6, 4, 4, 4, and there was a 2 on that sheet. And I'm like, what's this 2 for? That's the number of years that I had to stay in. I'm like, okay, I'll take that job. And that's what got me into the Army, is knowing that I'd only have to spend 2 years. 26 years later, I retired, but hey,
How did your dad feel about that?
Oh my gosh, he's proud every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and a rewind on that, years after I joined the Army, talking to my grandma, and we're like, yeah, it's so great that you joined the Army, whatever. And she says, how'd you come to that decision? I was like, what do you mean? You told my dad that I was a burden. And she's like, what are you talking about? I was like, yeah, no, I joined the Army because you told my dad that I was a burden. She's like, I never told him that.
Oh, no.
So he lied to me. Yeah, one of the best lies I had ever been told in my life.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
My grandma had never said that. And he just wanted me to do something with my life.
Yeah.
And it actually worked out.
It did work
So I
out.
thank him for lying to me pretty often.
Right. That's good. Kevin, so now you're in Moreno Valley working for the BERC, right?
Yes.
And a lot of people are not familiar with that and the work that you do. Would you let us know a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So after teaching, I had the opportunity to get hired on with the city of Moreno Valley. And I'm working with the Economic Development Department within the Workforce Division. I'm actually the manager of the Business Employment Resource Center. That's what the BERC stands for. It's an amazing one-stop shop where folks can come in and get assistance for finding a job, resources to allow them to be able to get a job easier. And we also have business resources. So small business resources, business for businesses to increase their financing, working for the city, but my heart lies in our veteran programming. So we do a lot to help veterans. We have veteran promotions. We do every month a Veteran Tuesday. We have veteran organizations come and hold workshops with complete outreach services for veterans within our community and the surrounding areas. We also do an annual veteran fair. We just finished up in October. That was a great success, and we just want to make it grow every year and do better with that. again, the veteran community is where my heart lies, and I'm happy to have the opportunity because the city of Moreno Valley takes its veteran population very seriously and gives me a lot of opportunity to work with veterans and for veterans and their families.
Would you mind giving us the contact information for the BERC?
Absolutely. So you can find us within the City of Moreno Valley Economic Development page at MorenoValleyBusiness.com, and you can follow us on social media at MovalBERC.
Okay.
MovalBERC.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to go back to your Army career. Okay.
Yes.
So I would like to know where were you stationed, and what kind of other duties did you have outside of those 2 years? And as a matter of fact, what were those 2 years like?
My 2 years were definitely probably two of the best years of my life. After completing basic training, I went to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri for basic training, and then I went to Fort Sam Houston for my advanced individual training. And it was a great experience. I'd never flown in an airplane. I'd never really, I travel outside of the state of California, but getting on an airplane, being a grown-up, an adult, for the first time, it was great. The first duty assignment, I was really spoiled. I really had a good start to my career. My first duty assignment was a place where I did not want to go, and they gave out our assignments at the near the end of our training, and they bring out the list, and they said, Brooks, you're going to Fort Buchanan, Puerto Rico.
Whoa.
Yeah, I was upset. So far away from, so I'm like, California, Puerto Rico, way on the other end of the country. It was the best thing that ever could have happened to me. I spent 2 years, 2.5 years in Fort Buchanan, Puerto Rico, learned to speak Spanish completely fluent. I had a couple sergeants that were both Puerto Rican natives, and they did not allow us to speak Spanish. In the food inspection business or job, we work with local vendors, and we worked with the commissary and the folks who work at the commissary, and it was primarily Spanish. So they're like, hey, you're gonna have to deal with these vendors, you're gonna have to learn Spanish. Coming from Southern California, I had some knowledge of Spanish, so it was an easy transition for me. I could find myself forgetting words in English, and I'm like, what is this word in English? So that was great. By the time I left that island, I was completely fluent in Spanish. Of course, as you grow and don't use it, you lose it, right? But that was one of the greatest things about being in Puerto Rico. I really loved it. From there, I was lucky again. I was returning home. I was stationed right where my brother was, Naval Station, 32nd Street.
That's nuts.
Yes,
no,
right?
Lucky.
The Army is the only branch with food inspection. So we did food inspection for Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, and of course the Army. So we could be stationed on any base. I was stationed on Naval Station 32nd Street, and I was doing food inspection on the ships.
So Kevin, you talked a little bit about recruiting duty. Will you tell us a little bit more about how that was?
So recruiting duty was interesting. I began my career recruiting in 2009. I had gotten the call that I could go to recruiting school, and I'm like, do I want to do this? Yeah, why not? So I went to the recruiting school thinking that, okay, hey, I'll be able to come back home. I'll be stationed in California, typically where you're from and close to home. Well, that didn't happen for me.
Oh, no.
Of all places, they stuck us in Akron, Ohio.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So when I actually went to recruiting school, my daughter was born, and literally, I want to say 11 days later, I was in recruiting school. So that was tough. It was a tough go at the school, but I enjoyed it. And after leaving the school, I came home and told the wife and kids we're going to be moving to Ohio. Yeah, so that was a tough sell. We get to Ohio in 2009, and that's when the whole entire eastern seaboard was like blizzards and so much snow. That year it was really bad, and we survived through that, and it was miserable, like absolutely miserable. I remember it snowed all the way up until nearly May. Yeah, and in May there was still like ice and snow on the sides of the road. And we're like, this place is horrible.
Definitely not California.
No, not at all. But I was recruiting, at that point in time, I was a medical recruiter. So I recruited doctors, nurses, physical therapists, but I loved it. They put me in Akron University, the Zips, and I worked with a lot of young folks moving from from high school to medical school. So they had a program called the BSMD. So they go from high school directly into a 2-year program for their bachelor's directly into medical school. So I worked with a lot of young students, and it was great. I really enjoyed helping them go from the transition of being a high school student to an actual, medical student, which, typical age for medical students, 22, 23 years old, and here they are entering medical school at 20, finishing up their 4-year degree, and going right into it. So there's a lot of mentoring and a lot of talks with parents, and I found that I really enjoyed it. Moving past Ohio, we were transferred to Santa Ana, California, back home again.
Yep.
So I did moved back to my house in Moreno Valley. I still owned it. Actually, I sold it shortly after, and then we bought another home, and I was still in Moreno Valley, and I commuted, but I finally got the opportunity to work with regular high school students. That's where I met Sergeant Lake. The story comes full circle, and that's when I really fell in love with teaching, facilitating, and being part of these students' lives. And it was great for me. It really truly fed my soul. When I was preparing to retire, teaching wasn't my goal. I wanted to sell real estate. A lot of folks had come my way over the years. I had a really good friend who was a real estate broker, and we were making plans to move in that direction. And Sergeant Lake said, I want you to take over the Cadet Corps program and teach here at La Sierra for me. And I thought about it for a while, but I knew in my soul that that's where I wanted to be. It wasn't about the money. It was like literally that's where I wanted to be. I'd already spent a lot of time with the program and his kids and his great leadership, and it was exactly where I needed to be, where I wanted to be.
How difficult was that with the high school students, the cadets?
It wasn't as much of a challenge as some people would think. I'd already been in high schools for a couple years, working with students and their parents. I'm trying to convince kids to join the Army, you know? So becoming a teacher, just convincing them to learn my subject was a much easier sell.
Right.
So for me, it was really easy because I had a lot of practice speaking with high school students. And I actually had a captivated audience to where, going and speaking to them about the Army, they're like, "No thanks, dude." Right?
Yeah.
As their teacher, it's a different story. So it was actually really easy for me, and I loved it. I really did. Just being able to have the opportunity to talk to these students, mold them, and watch them grow without selling them something. Because of course, my job at the end of the day was to ask them, to volunteer to serve their country. The highest calling, and I appreciated the job, and I still did it, in a small capacity, and I still do it to this day. I'll never stop being a recruiter for our military, but I had no pressure from the command, and that felt great.
Yeah, that's nice. So earlier you had said in Ohio that you had a baby.
Yes.
Tell us about your family. What we want to know a little bit about your family life.
Okay, so the daughter that was born right before we transferred to Ohio, she's we have a yours, mine, and ours with my ex-wife now, unfortunately. But she had a baby. She was 5 years old when we got together. I had a baby who was a year old, and then we had a baby together, and that's our daughter that was born in 2009, the same year that we left for Ohio. All girls.
Oh, wow.
Yes. I'm a grandfather now. So that's some years ago when we started, and it's great. I love my daughters. My oldest daughter's in the Army. She was my favorite recruit.
All right.
Never wanted my children to join the military. And if they did, I always figured, they'd be an officer. That was a strict standard for me, because I didn't want them to join at the same level. I wanted my next generation to, come in and do greater things.
Right.
She graduated in a parking lot, though, and the world was different for her.
Mm-hmm.
So she graduated in 2020, and COVID was full on, so she never had a prom. She never had grad night, and she was going to start her college career online from home, and that's not what she wanted. So she said, "Dad, I want to join the Army," and I'm like, "No, you're not." But I told her, sat down and talked to her, and she's like, "Well, this awesome recruiter who comes to my school and is always talking about the Army, and I see it for myself." I'm like, "Oh yeah, you twisting my words."
Yes.
So I say, if you can convince your mom, then you have my blessing. I definitely wanted you to go to school first, get a degree, come in as an officer, but I understand where you're coming from. So that was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And she's a sergeant in
She's
the
going
Army now.
strong.
Yeah, she's stationed in Fort Bragg, and I have a grandbaby. She just turned 2. My daughter's 23 now, and she's loving life, loving the Army. She's joined the Army as a cook.
Okay.
She was our chef growing up in the house, and she was always cooking for the whole family. So that was perfect for her to come in as a cook. She's actually transferring now. She's going to do civil affairs. So she's going to be changing her MOS here this coming summer. So proud of her. She's looks like she's going to do a career.
That's great.
Yes, indeed.
Kevin, I want to thank you so much for being here today and talking with us. Is there anything else that you want to add about your story?
My story's not over. I was recently at an event, and the host said, "Hey, what branch are you in?" And I said, "Army." And he said, "No, you're not." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "What branch are you? What are you now?" And I said, I'm Army."
Yeah.
He said, "No, you're a veteran." And I'm like, "You're right." And he's like, "You're not Army, she's not Navy, he's not Marines. We're all just veterans at this point. But now we can continue to serve, not just those who are in the uniform anymore, but our community, our sons, our daughters, of those, who served as well." And I took that to heart. My daughter is, the daughter of a veteran. She's going to school right now and using those benefits, and my sacrifices and the things that I went through for 26 years of service, is being carried through. My daughter who's currently serving now, these are things where my legacy continues on, and I like to really move in a way where our future, can appreciate and respect every veteran who puts on the uniform. My brother has had some struggles in his life through drug and dependencies and stuff like this, and he's an amazing man. He's an amazing veteran, and folks like him, who carried our flag. I work every day to make sure that those veterans are not forgotten, and it's my honor, my duty, and I want to make it my life work to continue to help those who have served.
Thank you so much for all you do, and thank you for being here at UC Riverside today.
Thank you for having me.